Tyler from Inspire Sports, and in today's video, I'm going to break down my wide receiver rankings for wide receiver 1 through 12. I'll do another video ranking wide receivers 13 through 24, so make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all of our latest content that will help you win your league. So with that being said, let's get into the video. The first wide receiver number 1 for me is going to be Tyreek Hill. Right now, I just feel like he's the safest pick for the wide receiver spot because we're not quite sure what's going on with Devonta Adams. With Aaron Rodgers. I shouldn't say Devonta Adams. Devonta Adams is a stud, but Aaron Rodgers possibly not playing is going to hurt Devonta Adams. So Tyreek Hill, most explosive player in the NFL, plays on the league's best offense, league's best quarterback. Last year, he had 20 end zone targets. 20 end zone targets, which led the NFL. So not only can he score, a 90-yard bomb, but he's also seeing plenty of work inside the end zone. So all those reasons, Tyreek Hill, number 1 for me. Coming in at wide receiver number 2 for me is going to be Stefon Diggs. And Stefon Diggs last year, I don't know if it was Stefon Diggs, just the emergence of Josh Allen, but man, this relationship was great between these two. Stefon Diggs led the league in receptions, targets, and yards. This offense became a very pass-happy offense, and I believe next year that they'll do the same. Stefon Diggs is going to be one of the highest targeted wide receivers in the NFL. Volume is king. The only real concern, and it's just a minor concern, is you would like to see more touchdowns, especially around the goal line where he was 32nd among wide receivers in red zone targets, or end zone targets, not red zone, end zone targets. So you'd like to see him a little bit higher in the list, but just by pure volume, he's going to be a top 5 guy for sure. So Stefon Diggs for me, number 2. Coming in at wide receiver number 3 for me is going to be Devonta Adams. Devonta Adams right now could be very good value if you're drafting right now and you draft him, you take the risk on him, and Aaron Rodgers comes back tomorrow. That'll be great value for you. For me, I'm conservative. So honestly, Devonta Adams for me right here at 3 is fine, because we're still a little bit away from the start of the season. We're definitely getting closer, but there's a lot of time for Aaron Rodgers to come back. Each day we get closer to the season, though, and Aaron Rodgers isn't with the team, he's just going to keep falling down my list. And if Aaron Rodgers ends up opting out next season and Jordan Love's the quarterback, I would honestly put Devonta Adams as a back-end wide receiver number 1 for me. So it's just a risk. Do you want to take the risk and hopefully it pays off or not? Me, I'm conservative. Devonta Adams is fine here for now. We'll see as this preseason progresses, but Devonta Adams, number 3. Coming in at wide receiver number 4 is going to be Calvin Ridley. And I love Calvin Ridley this upcoming season. I love Calvin Ridley. Last year played 15 games. Really, I say 14 games because he left before halftime against Carolina the one week, and then another week against Green Bay, played on basically one leg and was completely useless, didn't even catch a pass, 0 points. So, but we'll say 15 games. In the 15 games, he had 137 targets, which was 9th most in the NFL, 37 red zone targets, 6th most in the NFL, and 19 end zone targets, which was 2nd most in the NFL. That was in 15 games, right? Like I said, 14 games. That was also with Julio in some of those games. Now he's basically by himself. It's him and Kyle Pitts, right? I honestly believe he can be a top 3 guy because he's so talented. Matt Ryan looks his way, especially in the red zone, where he didn't really do that with Julio. Julio wasn't scoring a whole bunch of touchdowns. Calvin really has a chance to do a lot of work in the red zone. So I love Calvin Ridley this upcoming season. He's going to see a ton of volume, and especially where it counts along the goal line and red zone. So Calvin Ridley, wide receiver number 4 for me. Coming in at wide receiver number 5 for me is going to be DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is an absolute PPR machine. He was right there with Stefon Diggs in terms of targets, receptions, yards, and I believe this upcoming season it's going to be the same thing. He's like Diggs basically in the same sense that he didn't get a whole lot of red zone work and also goal line work, just because you also have Kyler Murray there, who's very good at running the ball in the end zone too, which is limiting his upside just a little bit in terms of touchdowns. So for that, he's number 5 for me, but he's an absolute stud. He's going to get his and is going to see plenty of work. Volume's king in fantasy football. So DeAndre Hopkins, number 5. Coming in at wide receiver number 6 for me is going to be Michael Thomas. And I love Michael Thomas. I've made it known I like Jameis Winston in this offense a lot. Sure, he threw 30 interceptions. Everybody loves to bring that up. He threw 30 interceptions. Oh, I don't care. This is fantasy football. He also threw for 33 touchdowns and 5,000 passing yards. In real life football, sure. I don't like Jameis nearly as much as I do in fantasy football. This offense is going to be fine with Jameis Winston as a quarterback as long as he wins the starting job, which I'm projecting him to do. So if he wins the starting job, this offense will be completely fine, especially Michael Thomas, who's going to get peppered with targets. He's going to see as many targets as he did with Drew Brees, basically. Since Michael Thomas came into the NFL, these have been his finishes. 7, 6, 6, 1. I'm not counting last year because he was hurt all season. So 7, 6, 6, 1. And he's going right around like wide receiver number 10, 9 right now. That's value, people. That's very good value. So there's top 3 potential with him. I think this offense will be fine. So Michael Thomas, number 6. Coming in at wide receiver number 7 is going to be DK Metcalf. Now, I know I made this video that you can check out here about busts or people I didn't like at their current ADPs, and DK Metcalf was one of them. Now, still, I think 5 is too early. I think 7's good. In that video, I did say I'd take Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown over him, but now looking at it, diving deeper into the stats and everything, I like DK Metcalf more than them because his work in the red zone. So last year, he had the 5th most targets in the red zone at 39, and in the end zone, he had the 6th most targets with 14. So Russ is looking his way when it counts. He also had 124 targets, which ranked 16th among all the players in the NFL last year. So he's going to be a wide receiver number 1. It's just I don't like him at 5 where he's currently going. But in this range, like 7, I'm totally fine with taking him ahead of Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown. I think he'll be very good next season, especially in the touchdown category. So DK Metcalf, number 7. Coming in at wide receiver number 8 is going to be Justin Jefferson, who was amazing last season. Had one of the best rookie campaigns, not only in terms of fantasy football, but also just real life football ever for wide receivers. I don't expect a whole lot to change coming into the season. Last year, it had 124 targets. Honestly, I expect that number to even climb maybe a little bit, just because he's going to be more familiar with this offense. He's now the number 1, more time with Kirk Cousins. This offense can support somebody having that many targets. And also, Adam Thielen's going to be 31 this season. So he's getting older in age. Justin Jefferson is going to be Kirk Cousins' preferred to go-to guy. So I think he's a superstar, and he's only going to continue to shine in this league. So Justin Jefferson, number 8. Coming in at wide receiver number 9 for me is going to be A.J. Brown. And I love A.J. Brown. He has moved down my list just a little bit because there's a couple red flags after doing more and more research in this. Last year, I had 101 targets, which was tied with A.J. Green. Okay? He was tied with A.J. Green in targets. Now, he did miss 2 games, right? But if we take his average and apply it to the 101, he's not even top 20 in targets. Okay? This is a team that wants to run the football. They've run the football more than they've passed the football under Mike Vrabel. Next, let's look at his red zone targets. He was tied for 70th in the NFL last year with 17 red zone targets. 54th in end zone targets was 7. So that's not very good, right? That's not good. Why does he not see the work? Because you have Derrick Henry. Why run the ball or why pass the ball when you can run the ball from in close? Now you have the addition of Julio Jones. Julio Jones is better than Corey Davis. He's going to take work from him. He's probably not going to play a full season, but he's still going to take work from A.J. Brown. Last year, A.J. Brown had he was the 3rd highest in terms of expected fantasy points scored above what his total should have been. So he scored 61 points over his expected fantasy point total, meaning what? What does that mean? It means regression. Okay, last year his expected total touchdowns was supposed to be 5. He scored 10. So regression is going to happen there if he does not see any more work around the red zone, around the goal line as well. So that's why I have A.J. Brown at wide receiver number 9 for me, and there's a couple red flags. So A.J. Brown, number 9. Coming in at wide receiver number 10 is going to be Mike Evans. Last year when Tampa Bay got blown up by New Orleans in Week 9, this team just clicked after that game. This offense was a lot better. From weeks 10 through 16, Mike Evans was wide receiver number 7 in fantasy. He scored 12 touchdowns in that span, and he was 1st in red zone targets. I don't expect that to really change with this offense this upcoming season. He's going to be Tom Brady's go-to guy in the red zone, and honestly think there's a chance he could lead the NFL in touchdowns, receiving touchdowns. So That's why I have him as a top 10 guy. He's going to see a bunch of work with Tom Brady. So Mike Evans, wide receiver number 10. Coming in at wide receiver number 11 for me is going to be Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper back in 2019 with Dak was wide receiver number 9 that year. Last year, through weeks 1 through 4, when Dak was healthy, Amari Cooper was wide receiver number 7 in fantasy football. He was first in the league in targets and third in receiving yards. With Dak healthy, I think another top 10 finish is in store for Amari Cooper. I believe that he could be a top 10 fantasy wide receiver. So currently he's being drafted as wide receiver number 18 in a lot of mock drafts. So this is value, people. This is value. It's not that I don't like Dallas, but all their players right now besides CeeDee Lamb are value players. So go out, get Amari Cooper, wide receiver number 11 for me. Coming in at wide receiver number 12, and the last player I'm going to talk about is going to be Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson last year was able to get it done, finish as a top 12 guy with Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles. I believe this upcoming season with Andy Dalton and Justin Fields, he can finish there again, because those are two quarterbacks that I honestly do believe are better than the previous two. So I believe he'll be able to get it done. He's the best player in this offense. He's going to get his. He's an absolute target machine, especially in full point PPR. He will be very, very good. So that does it. If you enjoy this content, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Really appreciate it. Tomorrow I'm going to do 13 through 24, so make sure you check that out. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.